Yo, Bash, you been tripping on them hoes.
Burn live, burn live, burn live. Y'all marijuanically keeping you connected. Hashtagging these red eyes, changing the viewer's eye red, keeping underage smoking off of social media, killing myself for your entertainment, sitting here with friends and family, starting a cannabis station. I promise you today is going to be like no other. Today is going to be one of those, woo, it's going to be deep, y'all. Today is a special day. We're going to be talking about Muslims versus Christians. We're going to also be talking about school system failing. We're also going to be talking about a little bit of politics, but we're going to start off with the biggest topic, the biggest subject is Christians versus Muslims. Muslims and Christians is one of the two oldest religions in America, in the world, and a lot of people have fought for these rights to become Christian, become Muslim. A lot of people have left their countries to come over here and was afraid to become a Muslim. They became a Christian because of any sorts of things, of problems, or things they were going through. That's why people came over here to become Christians. But then you got Christians that became Muslims over here, and they got to learn about the Quran and things like that, and they're questioning how today's society go. So this video that I got to play, which is probably going to play more than one, I'm just going to play this one quick one to start us off. We're going to talk about it. We're going to discuss it. I'm going to give my input. I'm going to ask a couple of questions to everybody and see how they feel about things that are going on. These are things that are going on in America today. These are also problems that are truly going down. So if you're feeling a little alarmed or you're feeling a little upset about this, I totally understand. I get it. These are very, very sensitive subjects to certain people. Only reason I'm talking about it because it was done on the podcast. I feel like it was highly important that we have this discussion. This is a very, very good discussion. We finna get right into it. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's really discuss about Muslims versus Christians and see what the big talk is about.
You were a Muslim before and you converted. What was your biggest reasoning for doing so?
My biggest reasoning, and I want to comment on a point that I forgot to comment last time. Our brother, he said the 5% of Islam we're focusing on.
Right.
If you have this glass of water and you have 95 for it is water, but 5% is poison, it's going to kill you. So this is exactly what we have with Islam. Yes, you can talk about God, you can talk about worshiping, but how about violence against people like me? How about violence against Christians and Jews? You are ordered to wage war against them. That's what happened to my ancestors in Morocco. Berbers, they were Christians. They were executed. They were enslaved. That's what happened to people in Egypt, in Iraq, in Syria, and even in Europe. How about that? How about people who, for example, against women, Islam against women?
And we should note that they endorsed the death penalty for apostasy right here.
Yeah.
So it's not like
Before we go any further, I want to break this down. Going from the left to the right. These two guys on the left are Muslims that became Christians. They escaped their country of Islam. They came to America for freedom and freedom of choice, freedom of love, freedom to do what they want. They like the Christianity. My two over here on the right are Christians that turned Muslims. They're both here in America. Matter of fact, I think these guys are here in Florida. But the talks of from their country, how they're getting slaughtered and killed, and they're escaping their cities to come over here to a better place, to a country that is more accepting. Okay, but you got to hear the arguments, y'all. You got to hear the arguments.
Let me just finish.
As does Jesus Christ.
And against women should be beaten if they disobey their husbands. My mom was beaten. My imam dad When I asked him why, he said, it's in the Quran. You cannot object to that. You cannot object to it. It's in the Quran. It should be applied. It's a permission for men to beat his wife. It's in the Quran. It's the word of Allah himself. Again, when I studied the life of Muhammad, in 10 years, he waged 83 wars. In 10 years, 27 wars.
Muhammad waged 82 wars in 10 years. That's a lot of wars for 10 years. That's like a baby from 0 to 10 been in 85 wars or been to the hospital 85 times. You got to really think about that. That is a lot. That is a little bit extreme compared to the Christian way. That is extreme.
And 56 raids in 10 years. And you are going to teach me that Islam is peaceful? No, it's not peaceful. Are you going to give a Nobel Prize for somebody who waged 83 wars? No, you will not. And another thing, Muhammad is not a role model. Jesus is. Muhammad, he had many wives, 11 of them. One of them, she was 9 years old. He was 53. I am 50. I cannot marry a girl that has 9 years old. You cannot. That's abuse. And Muhammad did that.
Can we do one issue at a time?
Let me finish this. He raided a Jewish tribe. He killed the whole family of a newly bride called Safiya. And he took her as a wife the same time he was returning to Medina. Would you put that as a role model for me today in the 21st century? He had another wife called Rihanna. My daughter, her name is Rihanna. I named her specifically for that. He took a Jewish wife, Rihanna, and he did sex with her, not with her will. He did against their wills, all these ladies. Are you going to put him as a role model? You cannot compare Jesus with Muhammad. Jesus never killed a person. He never killed an apostate. He never waged a war. So he was a role model for me. That's why I loved Muhammad and I wanted to follow Jesus. They are going to keep trying, bring the Old Testament. Name one person that Jesus killed because he was an apostate. Judas, he gave him to the Jews and he never ordered his disciples to kill him. I have people who just criticized Muhammad once, and he ordered his disciples to go and kill him, even lying. His name is Ka'b ibn al-Ashraf. He's a Jewish guy. They killed him, they lied to him, they took him, and they killed him. He even encouraged a guy who was blind.
Got a question for people that are watching. If your religion, which people that are watching, I hope you know your own religions, y'all know the Bible, you know the Quran, or if Jewish people watching, you know your Jewish book. If it's true that your religion allows killing to this extreme, because at one point, I don't think it's in this one. I'm going to try to find a clip where they talk about it. But in one of these clips, they literally talk about where guy reads the scripture where he says, if I as a religion take you from bad, take you from evil, take you from hate, and you turn your back on me, on your religion, whoever persuades you, whether it be your wife, your husband, your son, your daughter, your mother, your father, your auntie, your uncle, whoever persuade you away from that religion that freed you from sin, you have the right to kill them. Even if it's a friend or a family member, they discuss that. So my question to everybody out there that's watching, is that okay? Are you down with being saved from your religion and somebody trying to rebuke you back into sin that you would kill them? Are you okay with that? Is that mindset settling to you? I'm just asking a question. You can put down in the comments if you want to. You don't have to. It's just a question. I'm gonna get back into
He killed
this.
his wife. He had 2 kids, and he killed her. He came to the prayer and he said, Muhammad praised the guy for killing his own wife just because she criticized Muhammad. So these are the rules that.
You hear that? He criticized his own wife because she said something negative about Muhammad. He was joyful that she passed away. Is that okay?
You want to apply today. If we criticize Muhammad, we should be killed. Like what happened with Charlie Hebdo. Do you think those people, they just killed the people who drew the caricature for Muhammad just because like that? No, because it's written in Islam that they should kill people who criticize Muhammad. So Islam is a big problem. Even the 5% can kill whole humanity.
Can I have a response?
Sure, please go for it, Jake.
And I want to comment on what he said.
Now, you heard a Christian's voice. Now, hear a Muslim response. I want y'all to make sure I'm breaking it down so y'all get the 2 gifs of each other.
And also Robert's remark about us endorsing the punishment for apostasy. Yes, we do. Why? Because our claim is that we are actually faithful to our scriptures. You guys are not. You want to avoid the Old Testament, and I want to give you an analogy, Patrick, because you're a business guy. You have many businesses, okay? And you have policies that you have to put in place based on social interaction in the workplace and all that kind of stuff. Now, you may make amendments to those policies based on new data, new information, how things are actually going based on those things that you put in place. Now, when you do, right, and this is the analogy between the Old Testament and the New Testament, are you willing to say that, well, yeah, thinking to myself, yeah, Pat, yeah, you were wrong, actually, when you said it was okay to do such and such. That was actually wrong, and you then put in the correct one. With the Bible, the problem that you have is the same one that you want to talk about, the loving Jesus Christ himself, which we also adore and respect as a prophet, is the same one that you believe is God and revealed the Old Testament, and you can't get out of that. So when your God, Jesus, revealed at that specific time, as I just read the passage, and I can read you plenty more, where he says to kill babies in war. Is it okay to target infants in war and kill babies? Is that inherently immoral? The problem that you have is if you go on, and this is why the argument is so important. It's not a tu quoque just as a fallacious argument. It's checking for your consistency as a Christian, whether or not you're actually faithful to your own text and tradition. And the reality is you're not. Why? You have 2 options. If you condemn it as inherently immoral, then the whole Bible's gone. Because if you believe that those verses in the Bible were revealed by God, then you're saying that God is immoral. And on the other hand, if you say that it's not inherently immoral, but God changed the law at this time, then most of your arguments lose the force that they have against Islam, because you can no longer argue that it is inherently immoral to punish an apostate by death and all of the other things that you want to tack on. This is why it's so important. It's not a fallacious argument, and the reality is we want to stick to our text and our tradition, and for the most part, we would argue that the Christians have abandoned them in favor of secular, liberal, moral ideologies.
I'm going to pause right there, because he said, for one, y'all heard what he's saying. Basically saying that Christianity have left their basic morals, meaning the Old Testament, and being strict. That's basically what he's saying. Basically, Christians aren't strict enough in sticking to the Bible in today's society. No matter how you look at it, no matter how you want to interpret it, that's exactly what they're saying. And that's how they're trying to put it to us. Now, is that true, Christians? Are y'all not strictly to your Bible, where it does says, and I know they're going to the most harshest extremists of it all about the killing and what is allowed to be killed and what is not allowed to be killed. Understand that America was founded on Christianity. A lot of people will forget that and kind of try to ignore that. America values, back in the old days, back when they was coming up, values were on Christian values. And second question, if Abraham Lincoln's time could see today's age and say, hey, are you cool with the LBGTQ? Are you cool with chopping off kids' private parts just because they think that they're feeling some type of way, but it takes them 18 years old to be able to vote? And we having my next subject when I talk about these schools, and see, this is why I'm gonna get back into the school part next after this, because we as American society have let a lot of things pass that are crazy and obnoxious. And my Muslim friend right here is saying that if Christians would have stuck to their moral values, their structure, none of this would happen. And not is he just saying Christians, he's saying liberals. And this is where it gets interesting for me, because when he says liberals, he meaning Democrats. And that's the part where I get excited and I get happy and I get to say, yay, because yet again, I get to prove with facts that the Democratic Party is the party that messes up the black community. It's the party that separated us from religion. But I couldn't say that without no proof and evidence. And here's my proof and evidence right now that I'm a Christian. Let's put that out there so people can hear me and understand that I'm a Christian. I'm not, because the Muslim way is very too strict for my blood and how I was raised. Okay? But the values of what my parents taught me and how I was raised and brought up, you wonder why I'm a Republican. You wonder why I'm a conservative. Because the Democratic Party is not conserving Christianity. Matter of fact, they hate on Christianity. They really, really do. They really do. They hate on Christianity. You have not barely went to any Democratic Party and had them start praying. You only see that when it's what? Bunch of black people. If they just having a Democratic Party, there ain't no praying. You go to a Trump rally, they're praying all the time. He got black preachers up there, white preachers up there. They pray before they start, pray when they done. Not to go too deep further into like how that, but I just want y'all to see the separation and how separated it is and where they're coming from, just in case people were confused. Okay.
Let me have Daniel respond, and then I'll come to you. Go for it.
Yeah, so there are a lot of things that we need to respond to, because he's just listing every grievance that he has against Islam.
Right.
We have to take it step by step. But just on this point of violence, I think Jake makes really the crucial point. It's that Jesus, according to the Christian belief, Jesus is the God of the Old Testament. And he's the one who's commanding Moses, for example, to ethnically cleanse the Canaanites or the Amalekites or all of these other tribes, and to conduct conquest and war, to take girls as slaves, to take virgins as slaves. This is in the Old Testament, sure. So Christians have to deal with that moral problem. A lot of Christians, unfortunately, they just throw the Bible under the bus. And, how is that justified? But it's not just the Old Testament. It's also the New Testament. The New Testament also endorses slavery. The New Testament also has the book of Revelation, where Jesus is going to come, which, by the way, Muslims also believe that Jesus is the Messiah. He is the born of the Virgin Mary, and he's going to come as the Messiah to establish God's kingdom on earth. Muslims also accept and believe that, and we're anticipating that. But he's going to be very violent. It's going to be a very violent affair, and that's in the Muslim tradition and the Hadith, and it's also in the book of Revelation. So Jesus is also very violent. And then finally, you have canon law. You have the church tradition. So if Robert wants to denounce canon law, because when you have canon...
You see that argument right there, ladies and gentlemen? You cannot deny what he said when he's like, when Jesus come back, it's going to be violent. And you cannot say, no, it's not going to be violent. Jesus is going to come back. He's just going to say, hey, you're coming to heaven. You're coming to heaven. You're going to hell. No, his wrath for us who defied God, defied the word, and did everything wrong that not going to get us in heaven, we're going to feel eternal burn and suffering and chaos and the 7 pegs on earth. And these are things that's in the Bible. These are things that you cannot knock. These are things that you cannot hate on. These are things that I believe this is one of the most beautifulest discussions that I have ever seen in my lifetime. Okay, I'm gonna keep going, I'm gonna keep finishing, but I just want y'all to really see that, like, yeah, he kind of makes a point. When God comes back, you know, it's not gonna be a beautiful sight there. It's not. It's really, really, really not.
Canon law, it has slavery. It has a marriage age of 12 years old in canon law. It has punishments for blasphemy. It has even, striking the wife, the disobedient wife. That's found in canon law from Gratian. So I believe that Robert is an Orthodox Christian. If he wants to denounce canon law and denounce his own tradition, he can denounce that. He can denounce Jesus himself. He can denounce the Old Testament. He can denounce the Bible. The New Testament, that's fine. That's fine. He says that, oh, well, our religion adapts, our religion changes. But that's actually the problem, Patrick. You know, when we're talking about wokeism, when we're talking about, like, if you can say that, oh, well, you know, that's the Old Testament is for those times. It's not applicable now. Right? That's the argument. The violence, the killing of blasphemers. That's for old times. We've changed, but Muslims are not willing to change. I say, yeah, Muslims are willing to stand by revelation. The problem with a lot of Christians, not all Christians, a lot of Christians, Jews, Hindus, they all have these practices in their books. Buddhists, they all have these practices, and they're pressured to change and update. And so why, if you can get rid of the conquest and the violence and the punishment for apostasy, why not just get rid of the prohibition of, like, cross-dressing, the prohibition of homosexuality, the prohibition of drag queens? Why prohibit any of that? Like, maybe times are different. Maybe we need to adopt drag queen story hour in our church. Maybe we need to adopt, you know, all of these woke practices. Why not?
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one.
Okay, see, I'm glad that was a short one. As that was very interesting. I'm gonna go to this real quick. I'm gonna click on that real quick. I'm gonna pause it. Okay, so, ladies and gentlemen, I do got a question. My next question to y'all is America too free? This the most freest country of all. Are we too free? Do we need to stricken up? Do we need to what? Help me out here, y'all. Maybe y'all see something that I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Let me know, okay? So, I'm just curious. Matter of fact, I'm going to pause on this real quick. Yeah. Because I'm going to pause on that. The reason I'm going to pause on that is because this other story real quick that I want you to see. It's the reason why I'm like, we have this other huge problem and it's becoming a major problem. So I really want people to see this real quick. That's why I'm playing this early and fast like this.
When you see me, tell you gotta say what's good.
Okay, cool. Now, I know this is gonna sound beautiful, it's gonna look beautiful and all this. Now, I know people seen that probably all over the internet, and they probably loved that, and they was probably saying, oh, that was so beautiful. That was beautiful. Them kids and all that good stuff, and they you know what I'm saying, they're smart, but this is in Baltimore, y'all. Now, to get deeper into the story, we're talking about education, learning, reading, arithmetic, math, the basics. Adults are up here yelling at us, talking about, hey, we're not smart. You know what I'm saying? Just take it for yourself.
The latest
Just
round of
listen to
state
this.
test results raises alarm in Baltimore City, and we're getting a detailed look into how bad it is.
Project Baltimore's Chris Papps found 40% of city high schools where the state exam was given did not have a single student score proficient in math.
Jason Rodriguez.
This is educational homicide.
Is with people empowered by the struggle.
There is no excuse.
In 2021,
Enough is enough.
the Baltimore-based nonprofit held rallies calling on Baltimore City School CEO Dr. Sonia Santelises to resign over low test scores.
Black person in charge. I just want y'all to see this. Black person in charge. Just want y'all to see this.
Scores, falling graduation rates, and a lack of transparency. Now, after seeing what Project Baltimore just discovered, Rodriguez is renewing those calls.
We have a system that's just running rogue, and it starts at the top.
Rodriguez is reacting to these new 2023 state test scores, which have not yet been released to the public. Fox 45 obtained them through a source in Baltimore City schools. The unredacted state test results at every school in the city. And what we found is hard to believe. Students took the test in the spring of 2023. Just a few months ago, we found 13 city high schools where not one student who took the state math test scored proficient. Not one student. These are the 13 schools, which include some of the city's most well-known high schools like Patterson, Frederick Douglass, and Reginald F. Lewis. In total, students at 33 high schools took the state math exam last spring. In our analysis, we are not including Eager Street Academy because it's located inside the Baltimore City Detention Center. Of the 32 high schools remaining, if 13 had 0 students test proficient, that means 40% of all Baltimore City high schools could not produce a single student who's doing math at grade level. But that's not the only alarming finding we made. In these 13 high schools, more than 1,700 students took the test, and nearly 1,300, or 74.5%, scored a 1 out of 4, the lowest level, meaning those students are not even close to being proficient. And
This is in a city that's ran by all blacks, y'all. This is a problem. A real serious problem. I don't know if y'all want to look at it like that. Y'all probably feeling like, hey, this is not right, but this is how it is. These numbers are ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Those numbers were crazy. And the reason I'm saying that, because when I looked at it, I was like, damn, like, no way. But then I had remembered this other story. And I was like, man, watch I have a hard time trying to look for it. And I didn't look for it before I came up in here. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm finna straight sit right here and see if I can find it right now. But interesting. Maybe I shoulda. You know what? That's what I am gonna do. Just so I don't feel some type of way and have y'all just waiting all day. I am gonna.
And keep in mind.
Actually, I'm gonna finish this story and look for this other story for y'all, because, like I said, this is Baltimore. I'm gonna show you one about Chicago.
Last school year, Baltimore City Schools received $1.6 billion from taxpayers, the most ever. The district also received an additional $799 million from the federal government in COVID relief funding. Yet still, not a single student at 13 city high schools.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Absolute disaster in Baltimore, okay? I mean, we're talking about mostly black people here, black kids, okay? Complete, total disaster, okay? Kids can't read, can't write, can't do math in a lot of schools, okay? And it doesn't really make sense. And it's not just the news reporters that are sounding the alarm on this issue. You also have teachers that have took to the internet to also talk about how kids are in class and they don't know anything, and they also can't read or write or do math at grade level. It really is a crisis.
No, y'all, can we talk about it? Can we please talk about it? Let's take a moment to discuss. Let's take a moment to debrief. Let's take a moment to unpack. So I'm not really understanding why they're not telling y'all. Like, we all know that the world is behind, like, you know, globally, like, you know, because of the pandemic and stuff. But I don't understand why they're not stressing to y'all how bad it is. Like, I'm not even trying to be funny, but these kids are... I'm going to just say this. I teach 7th grade. They are still performing on the 4th grade level. I don't care how you flip it, turn it, swing it, swindle it. They still performing on the 4th grade level. Ain't nobody talking about how they just keep moving, passing them on. They just keep passing them on, 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 passing them on. I can put as many zeros in this grade book as I want to. They're gonna move that child to the 8th grade next year. Ain't nobody talking about that. Why they not talking about that? Why they not telling y'all that y'all... And why don't y'all know that y'all kids not performing on their grade level? Why y'all don't know this? Why y'all don't know? Talk about it. Let's unpack. Because y'all be quick to talk about, oh, the teacher this, the teacher this, the teacher. It's your job, baby. I just got here 30 days ago. She was performing on the 4th grade level since 4th grade. Why we not talk? Well, let's talk about it. You the teacher. You supposed to be, again, she's been on the 4th grade level since the 4th grade. We in 7th grade now. So you let this child go 3 years and you never knew that your child was still in the 4th grade, ain't never left the... Hang it up, flat screen. And 4th graders being nice. I still have kids performing on grade K, 1, 2, and 3rd grade levels. I could probably count on one hand how many kids are actually performing on their grade level. So just imagine, you don't know that your child been on the 2nd grade level since the 2nd grade, and they now in the 7th or 8th grade? Are you joking right now? And these are future leaders, our future doctors, our future nurses, our future... Please, please.
It would benefit you to watch his entire video, because he breaks it down about how, like, and that's the kids that are doing well. Because I also teach 7th grade, and we have kids that have math grade level equivalents of 1st and 2nd grade, 3rd grade, many at 4th grade, very few at grade level, very few, if any, in some classes. These kids can't read, they can't decode, They have no vocabulary, no background knowledge. I've never seen anything like it. For context, for
This is a problem. Only way. This is a problem. This is a deep problem. Because this is not just in one state, bro. Don't think because I got this video up here and I'm playing this, y'all just thinking that this is just in one state, bro. Best believe this is not just in one state. Best believe this problem is in multiple states. I would hate to just let y'all know that this is probably done in democratical states. I can believe that. If somebody wanted to bet me money and say, Michael, nah. No, it's not. It's not. I know teachers that probably don't really discuss. They probably just so happy. Sweet-go-lucky teachers, and they just teaching and happy. But man, if that's true, which y'all see is true, all I can keep saying is, man, we got a serious freaking problem, bros. And it's somehow, some way, some shape, some form, we need to do something to figure it out, to help one another, bro. We need help helping one another, because this is getting out of hand. And before we, I don't know, give this country over to that generation that's coming up, yeah, man, we're doomed. This is okay.
8 years, I taught a self-contained program for significant language-based learning disabilities. Like, it was the most restrictive environment. It was the step before being sent to a specialized school. And my fifth graders with significant language-based learning disabilities could write better than non-disabled seventh graders can now. They can't write a sentence. They don't know what state they live in. They don't know what region of the country they're in. They have no background knowledge. Most of them don't know who the president is. They're coming to school with no background knowledge. They have very low skills. And yes, part of my job is to help them find those skills. And as a special education teacher, like, I'm obviously going to be working with students who require specialized instruction, but I'm not talking about specifically my students. I'm talking about students in the grade, period. And this was the case last year. They can't take notes. They can't even attend to a video. They can't even attend to a 3-minute video clip. I can play it. I can tell them what it's going to be about. I can summarize what the video did, and not a single one can tell me what the video was about. Directions written on the board, stated by the classroom teacher, restated by me. All right, who can tell me what we just said? Crickets. They have no listening skills, no reading skills, no writing skills, and no math skills. And like this creator said, I've had them for 30 days. Not even, this is week 4.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that, okay? School is just starting, and you have teachers and the news media sounding the alarm on the fact that kids are just dumb, okay? Kids don't know anything, right? They can't read, write, do math at grade level, okay? They are far, far, far behind, and this is why we have to address this issue in this country, okay? It's already bad enough that the Democrats during a pandemic essentially shut down schools, forced distance learning, which set a lot of kids behind. And now that kids are back in school, they're even more behind than they were before the pandemic even happened, because let's not get it twisted. This was a problem even before the pandemic. It's just not the pandemic's fault. The pandemic just made it worse. And again, this is why school choice, or the fight for school choice, really is the civil rights issue of our time. Okay? It's the civil rights issue of our time. We should have schools that are competing amongst each other for funds, which would incentivize schools to actually perform well, or to have their kids perform well, so that they continue to receive funding and stay open. But with the public school system, it doesn't really matter in regards to how a school performs. There's no consequences, right? The people that are running it, the bloated bureaucracy, they continue to get rich. Again, Baltimore City schools. Look at how much funding they're getting versus the results. The results are disastrous, but you know what? They continue to get more and more and more funding, which again is the exact opposite of what the left-wing woke revolutionaries love to tell us about the problem with our education system. Well, you just need to throw more money at the problem, okay? We're not funding schools enough. When it's like, no. Everywhere we look, we are funding schools. We're spending more money on schools than we ever have before, and we're not getting the results that these kids should be getting. So again, we have to reform the system. Again, this is why I am on board with demolishing the Department of Education and putting a lot of those resources and money into school choice programs. Okay, we have to radically reform our education system in this country, because it is failing kids and students. It really is. We have kids that are learning more about LGBTQ. Okay, they're learning more about the woke agenda. They can tell you more about celebrities and social media and TikTok and all this other stuff. They know much more about that stuff than they do about what they're actually at school to learn. It really is a damn shame, but we cannot forget that parents also take responsibility, because education starts in the household. It starts with the parents first.
Preach. Remember this, y'all. Remember that. And that's what we're talking about. That's what y'all just seen. And for people that just came in here late, I'm going to go over these numbers one more time for you guys. Okay? I'm going to go over these numbers one more time just so you can get a grasp on how it is in Baltimore. This just, like I said, this is just one area.
We found 13 city high schools where not one student who took the state math test scored proficient. Not one student.
Not one. Okay? This is a news report. This is on the news. Now everybody getting to see this. They got blasted on. Like, and can you say embarrassing? Can you really, really say embarrassing? But, okay, whatever.
These are the 13 schools, which include some of the city's most well-known high schools like Patterson, Frederick Douglass, and Reginald F. Lewis. In total, students at 33 high schools took the state math exam last spring. In our analysis, we are not including Eager Street Academy because it's located inside the Baltimore City Detention Center. Of the 32 high schools remaining, if 13 had 0 students test proficient, that means 40% of all Baltimore City high schools could not produce a single student who's doing math at grade level. But that's not the only alarming finding we made. In these 13 high schools, more than 1,700 students took the test, and nearly 1,300, or 74.5%, scored a 1 out of 4, the lowest level, meaning those students are not even close to being proficient. And keep in mind, last school year, Baltimore City schools received $1.6 billion from taxpayers, the most ever. The district also received an additional $799 million from the federal.
Where in the hell did all that money go? Huh? That's the question. Where did all that money go? you got to find out. Got to be an investigation on that money.
Federal government in COVID relief funding. Yet still, not a single student at 13 city high schools.
Yeah, so you seen that.
That's crazy as hell. This news station, this is just a news station in Baltimore, for one. Yeah, these stories that I'm finding you, it started because people that just coming up in here. It started because, like the beginning of the title says, it was Christian versus Muslim talk. And then I was asking, is our borders too open? I will put the link down in the description once the live is over, and then I got you. I appreciate you. I ain't had this many comments go that fast in a long time. Well, shit, never since I've been doing this. But yeah, this is unbelievable. Ladies and gentlemen, when I say things like this is going down, is really going down. It's going down. It's crazy. It is crazy. What? I don't know. Are we really ready to I just think we need to be more honest to our kids, like flat out, period. If you're not being honest to your kids, then, we're failing them. We as a country, parents, school system, all together, we are failing these kids. So when these kids are mad at the parent, like, oh, I didn't know this, or, oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, it's all our fault. I'll take partial blame right along with it too. Because in this sense of case, when a news report on some stuff like this, imagine, like I said, I got another thing, I just can't find it at the time, where it's talking about in Chicago, they're handing out money to choice of schools, and the lady that's in charge of that is trying to tell black people that it's racist to have a choice to choose what school you want to go to, because you might choose a school that maybe 2.5 hours away. It shouldn't be like that. That's what she mean by it's racist. Understandable, but sending my kids to wherever I need to send my kids, because where I'm trying to send my kids right now, the school is failing. Okay. Now, I do want to kind of show this off real quick. Not on no bragging, not on no who's right, who's wrong type of ordeal. I just want to show that everybody know about January 6th and storming the towers. I know y'all know about that. Y'all know about that. But there is a man that a lot of people hate that went on national television, Donald Trump. He told the whole world that a lady named Nancy Pelosi was in charge of that. The lady said, Trump, you're wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. She fact checked him on live television. He said, okay, whatever. Now, the man who supposedly that Donald Trump said that called Nancy Pelosi testified in court. And I'll be damned if he got receipts and he talks about that he Oh my God.
Why? Let me ask.
Okay. So, I painted the picture for you guys. I'm gonna blow this up. Just listen to the conversation. And this man is finna read off about January 6th. And I'm just ending with this. If this can hold up in court, Democrats are in trouble.
Why has the Justice Department dragged this investigation out for so long? Does it really take years to determine if Hunter Biden lied on a federal form related to purchasing a firearm?
This video is brought to you by Save the Storage.
I don't recollect the answer to that question, but the FBI works for the Justice Department. It's.
I'm sorry. You don't recollect. You don't recollect whether you've talked with anybody at FBI headquarters about an investigation into the president's son?
I don't believe that I did.
Okay, so this ain't the one I was looking for. I apologize. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. I know I'm supposed to have these all lined up and ready to go, but I don't. Just give me, hold on. It is right. I just sent it. Ah, okay.
Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. You know, the Blue Anon online leftist crew the other day was so pissed. I mean, they were so angry when Donald Trump said this.
Nancy Pelosi was in charge of security. She turned down 10,000 soldiers. If she didn't turn down the soldiers, you wouldn't have had January 6th.
There's no evidence to back up that claim. Donald Trump is lying. He's lying. He never even requested the troops. Why would the President of the United States even need to go through the speaker?
And then, like I'm saying, y'all, the reason I'm bringing this up is to follow through all the stories that I played earlier and trying to say that the old way, which a lot of the young generation is correct, needs to be why people that are crooked, people that are trying to take money, people that are trying to tell your kids what to do, that area of people need to go. People that lie just because they want to spend your taxpayer money, just like that school system, all that money that they just got, and they ain't got no excuses of where the money at. You see what I'm saying? So this is why I'm playing this, just to show people, like, look, Trump wasn't lying.
Speaker of the House to begin with. He's the top level executive. Well, I mean, theoretically, yeah, but when it comes to the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi is in charge of security at the House. Nancy Pelosi. And so many media fact checkers have claimed that no, that is not the case. That's a lie. It's yet again another conspiracy theory. But again, if we go right back to that Trump interview from the other day when he said this.
If she didn't do that. And now
Nancy
I understand,
Pelosi doesn't have the authority
that
that
the
you
police
have as
testified
commander in
against.
chief, though.
Listen to me, Kristen. Listen to me. I understand that the police testified against her, the chief very strongly against her, Capitol Police.
Again, he's right. Guess what? The former Capitol Police Chief, Stephen Sund, just testified in front of the Oversight Committee, where he essentially confirmed yet again that everything that we've been saying, everything Donald Trump has been saying, is in fact correct.
That's gotta hurt. Like that lady tried to say, she ain't commander in chief like you are. It don't matter. When you the head of something, you the boss, you do what you're supposed to do.
Let me show you guys exactly what I mean by that. Nancy Pelosi, yet again, directly involved, the finger pointing directly at her. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, take a look at the headline. It pretty much says it all. Nancy Pelosi lied. Former Capitol Police Chief Sund testifies that he had 3 calls with Pelosi on January 6. Pelosi said that they never spoke, but Sund says that he has the receipts.
I want to dive into the questions, Chief Sund. In your transcribed interview, you mentioned that you met with the House Sergeant at Arms regarding the National Guard prior to January 6th. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And who is the House Sergeant at Arms leading up to and on January 6th?
That would be Paul Irving.
And the House Sergeant at Arms is appointed by who?
As appointed at that time by Speaker Pelosi.
And in your transcribed interview, you mentioned that when you first brought up the National Guard to the House Sergeant at Arms in the days leading up to January 6th, that Mr. Irving said he, quote, didn't like the optics, end quote. Is that correct?
That is correct. He referenced being concerned for optics.
And on January 6th, when you went to Mr. Irving to get his approval to call in the Guard, Mr. Irving said he would, quote, run it up the chain. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That was a telephone call. I didn't see him in person when I first made that request.
The House Sergeant at Arms is considered probably the most senior security official on the House side. When Mr. Irving says yes to, quote, run it up the chain, end quote, what did that mean?
I took that to mean his leadership chain.
And who would be his leadership chain? If he's functionally the most senior security official on the House side, correct?
That's his title. That's part of the title, the senior law enforcement official for the House of Representatives. But he would have been referring to the leadership team that goes up to Speaker Pelosi.
So the political leadership team, meaning elected officials, not another security official, is that your
that is correct, sir. He's the top security official for the House.
So running up the chain would most likely, in your opinion, is through the Speaker's office and possibly to Speaker Pelosi?
That would be where it ends, yes.
Okay, so let's park that there, and then let's jump to a second set here. In a press conference on January 7th, Speaker Pelosi called for your resignation on national television. Speaker Pelosi also stated that she had not talked to you since the initial breach of the Capitol. But according to your transcribed interview, you were on the phone with Speaker Pelosi a few times. Can you explain that discrepancy?
Yeah, that is correct. I spoke to Speaker Pelosi 3 times that evening, and she went on national TV and said I'd never spoken to her, but I spoke to her 3 times. The three times were the first time when I went over to brief Vice President Pence at the secure location. I'd called House Sergeant at Arms Irving, told him I was going over to brief the Vice President. I was also going over to do a personal assessment of the Capitol. At that point, things were getting under control. Went over there, briefed him on when we can get them back into chambers with Mr. Irving being fully aware. He said he wanted to get Speaker Pelosi on the phone. He made a phone call from his cell phone at approximately 5:34, where I first briefed Speaker Pelosi. The second call was when I left that location. As I was walking away, I met up with Mr. Stenger, and we started walking over to the Senate to go brief the Senate. When Jennifer Hemingway, I believe it was Jennifer Hemingway, handed me the cell phone, and it was Emily Barrett's cell phone calling her, and it was Speaker Pelosi on the other line. This is my second call with Speaker Pelosi, questioning the information I'd given to Vice President Pence about when we can get back into chambers. I assured her that information was correct. I could get them back into chambers by 7 p.m., and the call ended. That was call number 2. Call number 3 was 6:25 p.m. I was over at the Senate from the secure location, from where the Senate had been sequestered, and on a cell phone using Robert Karam's cell phone, they dialed leadership, who was over off-site at a secure location, and I briefed all of leadership of the plans to get them back into chambers. That would have been call number 3 with Speaker Pelosi.
So you didn't have 1 call, you didn't have 2 calls, you had 3 calls. So Speaker Pelosi's comments that she didn't speak to you are inaccurate.
That is correct, sir.
So he sent the report to the House Sergeant at Arms.
Wow. well down. Wow, well down, well down, well down. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just saying, man. I only play this stuff because it be putting out there. People be talking. People be trying to bash me like, hey, man, you don't know what you be talking about. So I just make a quick little hour, 2 hour little video showing everybody, send everybody to this website and be like, man, here, this how it is. This is how it is. Now, the reason I want to play that, and the reason why I'm playing that, is because we, as everybody, need to stand up to this so-called movement that's going on. And the only person that's going to stand up to that movement that's going on the right way is Trump. Like, I'm sorry. People can hate, people can have their opinions, and I do understand. But I'm going to play this video right here, same person. And
here's Vancouver.
Stay away from kids! Stay away from kids!
This is what I want to get part of. Stay away from kids. He said Vancouver. I want to go back so y'all can really get an understanding of why I'm for this fight.
It is happening, and it seems like the issue that's changing everything isn't the economy, it's not Ukraine, it's not the pandemic, it's not any of that. It's the culture war, specifically gender ideology infiltrating the curriculum in K through 12. Most recently, we covered the parental rights
K through 12 schools.
It's an education movement, or I guess let's call it a protest that spawned in Los Angeles. Well, the dam is bursting because something much, much bigger just happened in Canada. Let me show you guys exactly what I mean by that. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks. So this is what happened in LA not too long ago. A relatively small event. Well, this is what's happening in Canada. Here's Vancouver.
Stay away from kids! Stay away from kids! Stay away from kids! Stay away from kids! Stay away from kids!
Here's Ottawa.
Silence! No more silence! No more silence! No more silence! No more silence! Leave the kids alone!
Here's Toronto.
Y'all would be mad to find out that maybe, so-called maybe, those little nasty Democratical Party put little teachers in place to not teach our kids education, to dummy down our kids, to make our kids worry about things that are unnecessary. And now that we're fighting back, leave our kids alone so our kids can be smart, because our kids are being dummified and dummied down and dummied around, and they ain't getting no smarter because they're getting older. Like, this is crazy. This is what I'm talking about. This is why I played each video the way I played it in a row, to try to show y'all, like, this is the fight. This is the movement. This is why this one little crumb, this one little person can shut down this whole little movement. And not just like shut it down, like LBGTQ not going nowhere, but leave our kids alone.
And here's Montreal.
Why are we not doing this in America? This is what we're supposed to be doing. I will be going live at every protest that this is happening, if this was happening this deep out here in America. I promise you.
I mean, absolutely massive. You know, the last time we saw anything even close to that, it was the trucker convoy. Generally, when you hear people talking about Canada, it's kind of like a place that's too far gone, can't be saved, which probably still is the case to a certain extent. You know, it's a woke S-hole or whatever. It's too far gone, there's nothing that can be done. Then you see stuff like this, and all of a sudden that thought process starts to change a little bit, doesn't it? That even the wokest of the woke, even the wokest of all clown worlds, can turn around and change completely on a dime. Folks, Canada's done the woke experiment. You know what that woke experiment's name was? Justin Trudeau. You know, it's been a long time since Justin Trudeau was elected to office. Him and Emmanuel Macron were supposed to be the future of liberal leadership, ushering us into a new age. You know, that's what all the magazines were writing at the time. And boy, oh boy, did that narrative fail to age well. After nearly a decade of Justin Trudeau, the pendulum is officially swinging, and swinging hard. People are done with the woke crap. They're done with the slow descent into total authoritarian rule. They're done with the fake compassion and fake virtue from sociopathic, self-interested politicians who obviously don't have their interests at heart. And it's yet again another perfect example of that. Remember what happened during the trucker convoy? Which, by the way, in the long run, it seems wasn't exactly great for little Justin Trudeau. People had serious concerns. It wasn't even really political, at least not in the sense of political parties or the political spectrum. There were people from all ends who gathered together with a political demand, I guess you could call it, an end to the tyranny and government overstep. And Justin Trudeau's response was, anyone protesting and anyone criticizing me is a far-right fascist and bigot. That didn't exactly work so well, now did it? Well, you'd expect people to learn from their mistakes and to maybe adopt a new strategy, but nope, of course not. People like Justin Trudeau don't learn, now do they? His response to this massive protest was, let me make one thing very clear. Transphobia, homophobia, and biphobia have no place in this country. We strongly condemn this hate and its manifestation, and we stand united in support of 2SLGB, I don't even know what that means, Canadians across the country. You are valid and you are valued. Again, not addressing the actual topic, not addressing the political concerns of his constituents that are taking to the streets, demanding change. No, he calls them phobic, says what they're doing should be condemned, that it's a manifestation of hate, and essentially makes the point that they're not welcome in Canada. I mean, absolutely, completely insane. What people are saying is that they don't want adult indoctrination targeting their children with this new gender ideology trend. And his response is that you're a bigot, you're somehow fearful, you have a phobia of particular groups of people and identities, and that you have no place in his country. Yeah, folks, I think this is the beginning of the end for leftist leadership in Canada. Actually, speaking of leftist leadership in Canada, here's a leader of one of the bigger political parties in Canada, Mr. Jagmeet Singh, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's friend, clearly picking a side.
Where's the government? Where's the family, the boys? You need to stand with us. You need to stand with us. Come on. Sir, what's the problem? What's the problem? Unbelievable. We're fine. Unbelievable. We're fine.
And so the far lefties in Canada have bought into the narrative, full stop. And well, yeah, here's the polling data. Over the last couple of years, the Conservative Party has skyrocketed, winning in absolutely every single poll, winning in the aggregate by nearly 10 points in one of the largest shifts towards conservative politics ever seen in the modern day. People are done, man. They're done with the craziness. They're done with the insane practices and the
I just be wanting y'all to see the movement is real. This movement is real. This movement is not to scare people. This movement is not just for rich people only. I hate when people want to discuss stuff like that. Oh, this is only for rich. No, this movement is to save humanity. This movement is to save all of us and all our kids for the future. That's all I'm trying to do. Now, to get further back into what we started in the beginning, I'm going to kind of rewind it back to the beginning so people can see where this all started from. And
let's get right into it. Robert, your challenge. What is your biggest challenge with the religion of Islam? What's your biggest challenge with it?
You mean the biggest difficulty I see in it?
I would say the biggest difficulty, because to me, I see it from a...
Yet again, this is how we started off. This is this is the beginning of the segment. And these are Christians versus Muslims. And this is just one of the best debates I have ever seen in my life. And I think we as Americans need to discuss about this too, because this is important just as well as politics and schools and stuff too.
A few different places, right? One, there's faith, meaning none of us have gone to heaven to see what heaven's going to look like. We're all taking a risk. All of us here are taking a risk. Either we're all going to be right, either we're all going to be wrong, or either one of us is going to be right, meaning one group's going to be right and the other's going to be wrong. But we don't know. That's faith, that's prayer. Of course, we've had great...
For people that are just watching, the people on the left are Muslims that turn Christians. The people on the right are American turned Muslim, because I don't know if there was Christians turned Muslim. I don't know. But they are basically Americans that turn Muslims.
One group's going to be right and the other's going to be wrong, but we don't know. That's faith, that's prayer. Of course, we've had great experiences in life to say, I had a connection with God. I had a moment with ... And then that's individual to us, right? So to me, it's faith, it's religion, it's enemies, it's common enemies. It's the challenges that's going on in the world, specifically with America as being for the longest time the greatest country in the world. What is affecting that? And then there's a few other things that we'll talk about into as well. So, but for me, it's more from the standpoint of when you've said you've read the Quran dozens of times, you've studied it, you've written about it, you've talked about it. Even I think the government used 2 of your books in 2011 that Wire talked about, right? I don't know what the 2 books were. I think one of them was about Prophet Muhammad and So your background, you've been in this world. What is your biggest challenge and differences with the religion of Islam?
Well, probably the main thing is the sanctification of violence and the idea that God will bless and even calls upon the believers to commit acts of violence under certain circumstances. Like Rashid here is an ex-Muslim, and so under Islamic law, as it's traditionally and classically formulated, he would be put to death. Muhammad said, anybody who changes his religion, kill him. And it's still the position of all of the schools of Islamic jurisprudence, Sunni and Shia, that the apostate should be put to death. Now, obviously, this is not something that means that every apostate has to always go around watching himself, because you have to have somebody who's willing to do that. But those who do it, they think, well, now I have done something that Allah has commanded, and He will bless me for doing it. And me, myself, because I was standing up for the freedom of speech, 2015, Pamela Geller and I put on in Texas a Muhammad art exhibit and cartoon contest. And it was actually, we featured a lot of classic Shiite Persian art depicting Muhammad, as well as contemporary art that was from a more critical standpoint. And a couple of jihadis came from Phoenix, key members actually of the Islamic Community Center of Phoenix. One of them was featured in a recruitment video for them, and they tried to kill us. And so I actually would be also under a death sentence just for drawing Muhammad and for sponsoring people who do, which I did not in order to cause gratuitous insult, but to defend the freedom of speech and freedom of expression, which is the foundation of any genuinely free society.
Daniel, what would you say to that? What's your response to that?
Yeah, so just a few points here. Number one, it's interesting how we want to talk about Islam as a religion, But the religion is 95%, like what Jake mentioned. It's about worshiping God, being devoted to a righteous way of life, loving your neighbors, taking care of your parents. That's what 95% of Islam is about. Yes, there are criminal punishments, which we're going to discuss. There is conquest, there is war theory, there's all of this in Islam. But it's interesting how when a conversation is about Islam, we focus on that 5% instead of the 95% of what Islam is about. We don't see this kind of double standard with like Christians. So if you have someone like Matt Walsh is a traditional Christian. There's slavery in the Bible. There's punishment for blasphemers in the Bible. There's killing of heretics in the church tradition. There's no discussion of that with Matt Walsh, right? Or Ben Shapiro. There is killing of blasphemers in the Hebrew Bible. There is, punishments for apostasy in the Talmud. There's no discussion of that with Ben Shapiro. You can talk about, other values, and that's what the discussion focuses on. But the Islamophobic narrative is just lasering in on these specific topics, which is fine. We can discuss that, but I just want to note the double standard. So the other framing of this whole discussion that I want to put out here, though, is that I'm wondering, like this standard of, there should be no punishment for blasphemy, for example. Let's just put that out there. There should be no punishment for mocking and insulting a religion, attacking people's values. Is that coming from a Christian perspective? Is that coming from is that coming from the church tradition? Is that coming from the Bible? Because when we look at the Bible, we see in Leviticus, we see in Deuteronomy that blasphemers should be put to death. Even if you entice, the Bible says, if you entice like your son or your daughter or your wife entices you to worship other than God, then have no mercy. Put them to death without due process mentioned, without any kind of court or tribunal. The husband or the father should just immediately put them to death without mercy. That's what the Bible says. So when Robert...
Ladies and gentlemen, you grew up, somebody introduced you to Christianity, somebody swayed you away from Christianity. Do you feel like do your belief, because it's in the Bible, basically what they're saying, that you should be able to kill them. Look, I ain't gonna even act like I'm scared to say that. Be able to kill them. Basically, that's what they're saying. And this discussion right here I have never seen it discussed the way it's discussed right here. And I don't want nobody to feel some type of way. I just want you to understand that this discussion needs to happen. A lot of people need to share this out as many times as they can, because discussions like this needs to happen, needs to take place. Please don't be shy from it, but yeah.
Wants to criticize Islam. I'm wondering, is that criticism on the basis of the Bible? Is that on the basis of the church tradition? Or is this a liberal, secular, modernist critique of Islam? So I want to know, am I debating or discussing with two Christians or two atheists or two liberal secularists? Like, that's a clarification that we need.
May I?
Yes.
This is a very important clarification, and there are a couple of distinctions that have to be made. One is all of your examples from Christianity are from Old Testament law, which if you had studied Christianity, you would know there's no sect of Christianity, no school of Christian thought, no tradition within Christianity that holds that Old Testament law applies to Christians for all time. As a matter of fact, it never did apply. Even in Judaism, after the destruction of the temple in 70 AD, the rabbis redefined Judaism so that even they don't teach that those punishments have ongoing validity. So you're talking about something that nobody in mainstream Judaism or Christianity thinks is valid today, versus something that unfortunately all too many Muslims do think is valid today. And the bringing up of ancient historical wrongdoing is all very well, and there's certainly a place for that. I've got no interest in denying any of the misdeeds of Christians throughout history. But the problem that we have in Islam is that these passages of the Quran that are problematic, passages of Muhammad's traditions that are problematic, they are still considered to be in force by very large numbers of Muslims, such that all the major terrorist groups around the world are Islamic groups. And you don't have any Christian terrorist groups saying Jesus is Lord and blowing people up. There's a reason for that. And the reasons have to do with the interpretative traditions in both religions.
Can I comment?
Go ahead,
please.
Yeah, so I would ask Robert a very simple question that I think gets at what the real issue actually is. Do you believe that it's inherently immoral for an apostate to be put to death?
Do I believe that it's inherently immoral
Yes.
for an apostate
Is it
to be put to
inherently
death?
immoral?
Well, I know this is some kind of trap, but in any case,
No, it's,
I don't
I'm just
see any
looking for
reason.
honesty on your part. That's all.
You can always have honesty on my part. Everything I tell you is the truth.
Okay, so go
and
ahead.
the fact is that, yeah, I don't know. I tell you the truth. I
You
haven't
don't know.
thought about
Wow.
it.
Okay,
but-
you haven't thought about it. Well, you're writing
Yeah.
all of these books on Islam,
Then how are
talking
you
about
criticizing
apostasy,
Islam?
Right.
and you don't even know if this is inherently immoral. That's quite shocking,
No,
Robert.
I would say that I don't think that it's moral to put the apostate to death.
So it's
But
immoral.
As it comes to my books about Islam, I'm just reporting on what Islamic clerics and the Islamic tradition teaches about passages like when Muhammad says, if somebody changes his religion, kill him. So
Yeah, but
if you look, for example, in chapter 4, verse 89 of the Quran, in the critical Quran, where it says, if they turn renegade, then come and kill them wherever you find them, then I give Islamic authorities who actually say that this should be done. And that is something people need to know. Now, whether you're talking about in the ideal society, you have apostates put to death, I don't think so, because I believe in the freedom of conscience and the idea that of the dignity of the human person, which is a Christian concept that's not in Islam. You have in Islam, the unbelievers are the most vile of created beings, according to
Well, one
chapter
issue at a
98, verse
time.
6.
One issue at a
and
time.
so on. No, this is all.
I still
let's
didn't
talk
get an
about
answer
this
if it's-
issue.
I understand, but
inherently
this is all the
immoral?
same issue. Whereas in
Is it
Christianity,
inherently immoral?
all people are equal in dignity as made in the image of God. And so in that sense, I would say, no, I don't think it is.
So is it inherently immoral, yes or no?
Can I answer that?
It is.
It is.
So when Deuteronomy, since you like to quote the Quran, when the Bible says this in Deuteronomy 13:6, if your brother, the son of your mother, your son of your daughter, the wife of your bosom, or your friend, who as your own soul secretly entices you, saying, quote, let us go and serve other gods, which you have not known, neither you nor your fathers, of the gods of the people which are all around you, near to you or far from you, from one end of the earth to the other end of the earth. You shall not consent to him or listen to him, nor shall your eye pity him, nor shall you spare him or conceal him, but you shall surely kill him. Your hand shall be first against him to put him to death, and afterward the hand of all the people, and you shall stone him with stones until he dies, because he sought to entice you away from the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage. So all Israel shall hear and fear, and not again do such wickedness as this among you. So let me finish. Let me
I
comment
get
on
your
the
point.
passage. So when your loving God, Jesus Christ, who you believe is God, who revealed the Old Testament and revealed this as a law for the people, and you said that it's inherently immoral for the punishment of apostasy to be death, then you are charging your own God and supposedly loving Jesus with immorality.
Not
sir.
at all.
If you don't see that contradiction and hypocrisy,
It's not
then
in the
we can't
least.
really do much for you.
Well, it's not in the least contradictory or hypocritical, because that is God actually ordering something
Was
directly.
God wrong for that?
Now, the question here is whether the Muslims, when they put people to death for apostasy today, are likewise authorized by God in some direct manner. Now,
Oh, so that's
obviously,
what matters.
yes, the question is...
Then it's not inherently immoral. It just matters what is the correct religion and whether or not
Well, see-
God is actually revealing it.
Yeah, if you study the Old Testament, you will actually find that there's a great deal of discussion about passages like that and whether they are actually commands by God, whether they were understood by the faithful, interpretations by the faithful. The evolving understanding in the Old Testament and the New, and in Jewish and Christian tradition, is something that unfortunately is absent in Islam, such that in Jewish and Christian tradition you have the understanding of the dignity of the human person that ultimately made people realize that putting people to death for apostasy was not something that was acceptable.
Yeah.
But the idea that it was a localized command at some point or understood to be such, that is not the same thing as people nowadays thinking they are the executors of the wrath of Allah because Muhammad says, if anybody changes his religion, kill him. And the Quran says that you can soothe your heart by fighting the unbelievers and so on.
So, Robert,
Can we hear from Brother Rashid for one? Brother Rashid, go for it. What's on your mind?
Because this concerns me. Do you believe I should be put to death?
I believe that the punishment for apostasy in a correct Islamic state is death. I believe that that's the correct. Let me finish. Let me just respond, sir. I believe that that is the correct punishment, which has been revealed by God both in the Quran and the Bible. And for Robert to turn around,
I asked you.
Let me finish.
I asked you, do you believe I should be killed today?
And I answered you, sir.
Yes or no?
I answered you.
Yes or no?
I answered you.
Should I answer? You want me to answer?
I said.
Yeah, you answered me.
In a proper Islamic jurisdiction, an Islamic nation, all of the laws of Islam and the Sharia, as revealed by God, should be applied.
So if we were in that kind of state, would you do it?
Including
I'm not the one that
with
executes
proper due process, with a proper court hearing, just like any nation of laws. The laws of the Sharia should be applied, including the death penalty for not only apostates, but also blasphemers.
You didn't answer me, yes or no?
We did answer.
Yes, we did answer.
Yeah, so I should be killed.
We did answer.
I deserve to be killed because I left Islam and became a Christian.
According to Islamic law, an apostate like you would be killed. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And according to the Bible
let me. This is a fallacy.
And a blasphemer.
This is a fallacy.
Robert,
too cocky. Like you want to say you have it too. It's a fallacy.
No.
Let us discuss this because
why is it a fallacy?
It's a fallacy.
Let
me finish.
Please condemn Jesus.
Yeah.
Please.
Oh, you think you
condemn
should?
Jesus?
Robert
already condemned him. So
No, you're lying.
Let me finish.
Be on record saying you're lying about that.
Let me finish.
That's what happened. You said eventually we realized
you're lying.
Just let me finish.
Let's hear Brother Rashid, and then I'll come to you. Go for it.
You converted from Christianity to Islam. Your life is not under threat here in the U.S. I converted from Islam to Christianity. My life is under death. That's the difference between Christianity and Islam.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
Yes.
I got a question for you guys. I'm a data guy. I'm a finance guy. How many Christians have died going from being Christian to Muslim? How many Muslims have actually been killed or died going from being a Muslim to a Christian?
There's no data on that because these kinds of things are not recorded. They're not considered crime.
There should be, though, right? I mean, shouldn't there, even if there's some stories to be able to say, you know, XYZ individual.
I have stories. I have one in Mauritania who was condemned to be executed. We just got him out to Paris because we negotiated with the government there. I have people right now in Libya. They are under death penalty in Libya. I have people who got killed in Jordan for.
Do America need to be under Muslim law? Do we need these stricter laws? Because if we had Muslim law, we wouldn't have all this LBGT stuff going on, and it wouldn't be like that. It really wouldn't. So the real question is like, do we need it? I'm just asking the questions. I know you're hearing some very strict arguments, and I think this, like I said, I think this needs to be heard because I never heard a debate like this, and it needs to be heard. It needs to be spread out. It needs to be shared.
For example, because I do my show, people contact me. I have people who got killed in Jordan. Their parents killed them because they became Christians from a Muslim background. We have people in different places in the world. In the Muslim community, they kill them, and if they get to flee, that's the best outcome.
I got a question. While I'm studying this, there's also, Daniel said something very interesting where the guidelines of Quran is based on the jurisdiction of the government, meaning where you live, the religion is follow whatever the laws are of that nation. Meaning, you can correct me. I'm just giving you what I've looked into. Does this mean these rules apply no matter where you live? Is that across the board, or is it's more stricter in certain Muslim nations than other Christian nations?
Islam is to be applied forever on every place since the time of Muhammad until today. So Muslims are just seeking to be a majority one day, and if Muslims are majority today, these two brothers will witness my killing in front of people, and they will be happy cheering the crowds that I was killed. So Islam is to be.
If U.S. became majority Muslim today, you would be killed.
I will be killed. Sharia is to be applied everywhere, every time, and that's the biggest difference with Christianity, because Jesus came and he stopped the Old Testament. He stopped he didn't stone the lady who committed adultery. He said in the law, tooth for tooth, and he said, no, you turn the other cheek. Jesus stopped the Old Testament. They don't have a New Testament in Islam. They have worse than the Old Testament. They have something that Muhammad never corrected. So today we have to do jihad. Today we have to kill the apostate. Today we have to kill the person who doesn't pray, even a Muslim. If he stops praying, he should be killed. If he has no excuse, he should be killed according to
I'd
Islam.
like to give them a chance to respond. Daniel, what would you, because the point I think you were making was how that maybe doesn't apply based on what the countries are. And then he makes a good point about saying, but if U.S. eventually becomes majority Muslim, then that could be the criteria that we have to follow in U.S. What's your response to that?
Yeah, so there are a lot of inaccuracies in what he's talking about. I want to reframe the issue because he's saying that his life is in danger. But the lives of Muslims are in danger under a secular, liberal hegemony. And I know that some of the viewers might not be following what I'm discussing, but look at the war on terror, or even look at me personally, or Jake. But I say things that are contrary to liberalism. I critique and criticize liberal secularism. And what is liberal secularism? It's this philosophy that came out of the Enlightenment, out of the 18th and 19th century in Europe, and it was imposed on the entire globe by force through colonialism, through imperial wars. And the idea of liberal secularism is that
he has a point right there. Gender, people don't hate me for this. Gender came out of the Nazi war from a guy who used to kidnap women and make them have orgasms from all different ages. He had a whole book. I did a whole report on it. So when you look at stuff like that, like what he's saying is, if your country, if Christianity was strong enough and powerful enough and stood on its moral grounds, you wouldn't adopt things over here in this country that is controversial to the Bible. Okay? That's what they're saying.
Morality should not be based on these old books like the Quran and the Bible. We have to use reason and science to maximize individual happiness, individual freedom, and equality. And this is the best system of life. It's an atheistic system of life. We need to have separation of church and state, etc. This is the dominant, I don't want to say religion, but it's the dominant ideology in the world today. And it's imposed through, the UN Security Council, international rights law, etc. But it's coming from a very specific philosophy that is anti-religion. It's anti-Islam. It's anti-Christianity, anti-traditional Christianity. I criticize this system. And Muslims who criticize this system are put on watch lists. We're banned from traveling. Some of us are drone striked. Some of us are detained. Some of us face all kinds of canceling, deplatforming. Our livelihoods are threatened. I get death threats all the time. Almost every day I'm getting a death threat because of my opposition to this hegemony, liberal secularism. There is no quote unquote freedom of religion, because if you oppose this hegemony, if you oppose this system, you will be put to death. And I know you've had some very distinguished guests like Glenn Greenwald, Whitney Webb, and they talk about this system. Alex Jones, they talk about this system. They might not put it in the same exact way that I'm putting it, but it is this authoritarian, centralized, theocratic, not theocratic, technological system. And yes, plenty of people are getting killed. What was the Iraq War about? What was the Afghanistan War about? How many millions of Muslims were killed because of those invasions? What were those invasions justified on the basis of? It wasn't on the basis of the Bible. I wouldn't put that on Christians. I would put it on spreading freedom, spreading democracy, spreading liberal values, and quote unquote women's rights. That's what millions of Muslims in the past 20 years have been killed for, slaughtered, genocided because of this ideology. So yes, Muslims are under threat. Muslims are far more threat than, the few Christians here and there that might leave Islam to become Christian.
Go for it.
Well, in the first place, when it comes to secular liberalism, Daniel and I are completely in agreement. We're both against it. We both see that it's evil. And in that sense, you were talking about working together, finding common ground. That is the common ground that we have. The idea of the invasions of Iraq and Afghanistan were completely wrong, based on false premises, false assumptions, based on the idea that they could bring democracy to
a lot of things in this country we consider weak, offset, not right, not going correctly. And I know this debate that y'all was watching is very interesting, but you can't play the whole thing. They be like, you're watching videos and stuff like that. So gotta have a discussion. We let a lot of things get away here in America. We praise criminals. We let criminals get this so-called shining light, but then when a real hero come along and really try to help us out, he's cast away, he's shunned, he's not a good person, he's the most negative person of all. And when is we gonna wake up and see that when it's the hardest road that somebody's taking, that might be the good guy? When don't nobody like that person because that person is trying to do the right thing, and everybody and they mama be saying, oh, he wrong. Just maybe that's the good guy. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? That discussion about Christian versus Muslim, I put it like that. You know what I'm saying? For as freedom, who's under threats, whose laws should be more in place. It's very interesting. It's very more humble to think that you have to carefully think about your values and what you truly believe in, and what part of your life do you want to journey in. And as you hear in Islam, they journey into every part of the book. There's no shortcuts, there's no other way around it, there's no other way to look at it. Where then people look at Christians and then they might say, oh, you letting this happen, you letting that happen. People make fun of Christians. You see Sam Smith on stage worshiping the devil, and you know what I'm saying, where's the real Christians up here to fight back? These are arguments that you do hear, and I do hear them every day, and I'm old enough to where I'm starting to really think about things and want to analyze things a little bit better, and like, how can we go about this the right way? How can we correct our wrongings? And then that's why I showed you videos. Like, we are taking the steps to do the right thing. It's just when every state has their own different identity, and then you got different people at different agendas, you know, filling people pockets up with money. That's why people say you got to clean the swamp. People that are not good got to understand that we got to step up and vote. This is a marijuana podcast. I'm sitting here to smoke weed, chill back, and talk about educated things with you and talk about the hard discussions. Yes, this is what I really, truly want to do and break down with everybody. But understand, for every person that come in here, I hope that we can learn something and try to help better ourselves to move forward, because that's basically what we all want to do, and that's what I'm hoping to do by playing these videos and then having a small discussion. I appreciate the comments so much. This is the most I ever had comments in my life, and this is why I'm bringing this. I'm just explaining to y'all, and I want y'all to understand this is why I'm bringing these discussions out. I highly appreciate everything. Like an idiot, pressed the wrong button. I do want to go into another video just to discuss a little bit more. We'll bring that back up. I will come back into that video just a little bit more. I'd rather break it down in small segments like this so y'all get to see other things, and then I'm not getting in trouble, and YouTube is not telling me, and Facebook is not telling me stuff like that. But I am going to play this video right here just to let you hear where everybody's fight can see what's going on. And this is why the Muslim versus Christian fight is so big, because like he said, it's a liberal meaning Democrats, and this is what the Democrats be pushing. When you got people that push agendas,
president, and that he is Team Biden. Okay, he's given a full-throated endorsement.
Let me start it from the beginning. My bad, y'all.
Do you know Chloe Cole? At the age of 15, she got her breast removed and now regrets it because of gender affirmative care. How about the Lodi woman? At 13, she got her breast removed. Gender affirmative care.
Yeah, I mean, I just had a...
You get a tattoo until you're 18. You can't date until you're 18. You can't go in a tanning salon. But young girls and young boys can get their body parts removed. Talk to me. Our duty. I'm an attorney. I sent you letters. Thousands of people I represent.
Governor, parents have legitimate concerns about their kids being able to medically transition at such a young age. What do you have to say to those parents? What do you have to say?
All right, guys, so we got to talk about a pretty interesting development out of California involving Gavin Newsom, who swears up and down that he's not running for president. He's not running for president, and that he is Team Biden, okay? He's given a full-throated endorsement to Biden 2024 and Kamala Harris being his VP.
Importance, moral authority, those Democrats that have no formal authority, and we get out and we make the case to the American people why this president and this administration deserve a second term.
So message is my first point of confusion.
Yep.
Messenger is an obvious one, but I have one of you at home. You're a sitting governor. I have a former sitting governor at home. And when I would talk about helping the national, I'd say, well, be careful because there's a line. If you believe it that much, then it should be you. And that's how I feel about you, Gov, which is I get that you want to help your team.
Yeah.
But why not you? If you really care that much about the issues, I know you say you're not running, which is unusual to put a period at it.
Yeah, exclamation
Why, if you
point.
care, why don't you run if you
Because
care?
I believe in this guy. Actually, you know why?
You think Joe Biden is the best the Democrats can do?
And I hope you can differentiate because your BS meter is one of the best because you've been around this all your life. I don't like this guy. I have deep respect, reverence for Joe Biden as a person, his character, his decency, and his capacity to do great things. That's why I'm not worthy of that conversation. This guy deserves it. And we, as members of the party, deserve to have his back more forcefully and none of the nonsense. All this, these quiet conversations you've been in, we've all been in. Folks talking behind the back that become headlines. And we're all chasing that right now. We got to get on the team. We got to get this guy reelected, and we got to stop all the navel gazing and the hand wringing.
Yeah, so you've seen that, you heard that. This guy, Gavin Newsom, is giving a full-throated endorsement to Joe Biden. He swears up and down, I'm not running, I'm not running, I'm not running. Despite the fact that the guy is running ads in red states like Florida and Texas, he's traveling around the country doing these national television interviews in the same way that somebody who is running would do, right? But he says, hey, I'm not running. And even if Joe Biden steps down, I think that Kamala is up next. Now, again, these are pretty fascinating statements because a lot of people speculate that if Democrats have any chance of winning in 2024, then Gavin Newsom would probably be the best candidate, okay? Because he is the leader of California, which is, in my opinion, a disaster. But for some Democrats and progressives, that is the direction that they want the country to head in. But even Gavin Newsom, okay, somebody who claims he's not running for president, he's a far left politician. Even he is making some more interesting moves that suggest he could be running for president sooner rather than later. And one of those moves is rejecting a radical bill out of California that essentially would have required a judge to consider whether or not a child was transitioning and the parents and their willingness to affirm their child's gender in child custody cases. Here's a video of Democrats arguing for this bill in the legislature.
That parents affirm their children. They have since the dawn of time. Typically, it happens when their gender identity expression matches their biological gender. But what happens is when it doesn't, that's when the affirmation starts to wane. And that's what we're dealing with here. Although it's called the TGI bill, they're not mentioned anywhere in the law. What's mentioned in the law is the child's gender identity and expression and the parent's affirmation of that, whatever it is, because that is our duty as parents to affirm our children.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that, okay? This was the bill that the Democrats were pushing, and Gavin Newsom thought it was so radical that even he decided to veto this gender identity bill.
Now where we've learned that Governor Gavin Newsom has vetoed two major bills, one driverless big rigs and the other could impact the parents of trans children. The bill, AB 957, would have required judges to consider a parent's affirmation of their child's gender identity in custody cases when parents split up.
The author of the bill said it was meant to protect trans kids in contentious custody battles. And in explaining the veto, the governor said, quote, I urge caution when the executive and legislative branches of state government attempt to dictate in prescriptive terms that single out one characteristic legal standards for the judicial branch to apply.
Now, another.
Yeah, so you've seen that, you heard that. Now, again, the woke activists are going to be upset with this, okay? They're not going to like it because they don't see this as being pro-LGBTQ enough, okay? Being pro-LGBTQ means that you have to take away children from parents who don't.
if y'all don't think that this is nasty and disgusting and trifling and all of that, this is. I when I get to these points of stories, I get to just shaking my head like I don't be knowing what to say. I really, really don't know what. And if I do that again, that's messed up. Damn it, Jim. Yeah, like I said, I really don't know what to say. This stuff is tragic. It's nasty that you can have a kid at a young age, just so young, 8, 9, kindergarten, K through 12, make decisions, but they can't even drive, drink, vote, go to war, do nothing. Can't even pass a damn math test. That's why I showed you those other videos. They can't pass a typical math test, but they have the right to say if they feel like getting their body changed, they can change it. That makes no sense at all. If it does to you, then kudos. I mean, I get it. Yeah, I'm finna end this live because obviously I can't function right. I'm tired or something. Nah, I'm messing up. It's towards the end. It's 2 hours. I'm sorry for messing up like that. I'm messing up at the end of the show. This probably was a very good show, and now I gotta mess it up all at the end. But I'm gonna finish this video out for y'all.
Want to push them into sex change operations or undergoing hormone therapies or transitioning them in ways that could be permanent, okay? And, you know, ways that the child is too young to really understand, okay? And this is what one Democrat had to say after the governor vetoed the bill. They said, quote, "I'm extremely disappointed. I know the governor's record. He's been a champion for LGBTQ plus community for years, and even before it was popular to do so." Wilson said a statement. However, on this point, the governor and I disagree on the best way to protect transgender, gender diverse, and intersex kids. She added her bill was intended to, quote, "give the trans community a voice, particularly in the family court system, where a non-affirming parent could have a detrimental impact on the mental health and well-being of a child." Democrat State Senator Scott Wiener, who co-authored the bill, also called out Newsom for rejecting it. Quote, "This veto is a tragedy for trans kids here and around the country," Wiener posted on X, formerly known as Twitter. Quote, "These kids are living in fear with right-wing politicians working to out them, deny them health care, ban them from sports and restrooms, and erase their humanity. California needs to unequivocally stand with these kids." Governor Newsom has been such a staunch ally to the LGBTQ community, a true champion, respectively. However, this veto is a mistake. Okay, so again, in the past, Gavin Newsom has supported, you know, legislation that is radical, like, for example, making California a sanctuary state for out-of-state children wishing to receive gender-affirming surgery and hormone therapies without the consent or knowledge of their parents, okay? So again, this guy, don't get it twisted.
That's deep. That's too damn deep. Hey, look, I got a... that just went overboard. I hope y'all don't elect him. Please don't elect him. But I want to see this video so damn bad. And I'm going to show y'all with y'all. Because I ain't never seen it. I'm just sharing it with y'all.
Good show.
Yeah, that got deep. That got deep.
Baptist church, people calling them racist. Really? Yeah. White guy? Of course. That's the only people that can actually be racist. You know black people can't be racist. Yeah, that's what I heard. You can't be. Any minority, They can't be racist. Only white people, because you know why? Why? They're superior. Anyway, he says he's not racist.
Yeah. You
Yup.
think he's racist?
Well, I kind of lean that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, I don't like to throw the race card out there. I don't like to use the race card, but this
I heard it here first. Keith's going woke. You woke now, huh? Well, you be the judge. Y'all check this video out. Baptist Church.
There are calls for a Green Country pastor to
Man,
apologize
that
after
is
pictures
crazy
of
as
him
hell.
with his face.
That's a preacher of a church. That's crazy as hell. Look like he even put red lipstick on his lips. Whenever you dress up like a caricature of a black person, yeah, I would say you're racist. Man, it do. I've never seen a black person look like that. I have. Where? Downtown LA, 3 o'clock in the morning. Standing right beside the train. Pull that up. I ain't never seen no black man look like that. Great joke out there. You didn't hear me. 3 o'clock in the morning, downtown LA, he's standing right beside the train. The pimp, man. I ain't never seen no black dude look like that. Yeah, I haven't. No. That's crazy. Look at it. He's got balls of gnats at the top of his hair. Look at the white people. They look concerned, don't they? They think it's disturbing. That dude's so black you can't even see his eyes. Is he wearing shades? I don't know. Let's roll it from the top.
A Green Country pastor. New at 10, there are calls for a Green Country pastor to apologize after pictures of him with his face painted black,
Wait a
dressed as
minute.
Ray Charles,
Is his
have
lips
gone
painted?
viral.
The pictures in a video have
Hold
been
up, is his
shared
lips
on
painted
Facebook.
white?
Fox 23's Alex Cash joins us live after looking into this today. Alex, a lot of people say they are offended.
These pictures have gone viral. Some people say he should say sorry, but speaking to his congregation, this pastor defended the pictures and says he's not racist.
People laughing at him. Yeah.
This is a video of Sherman Jacks, the pastor at Matoka Baptist Church
His
in
lips are white.
Oshaleda, performing in blackface. It was back in 2017 at a Valentine's Day event. Pictures of it shared by Tulsa activist Mark Lewis
No, right
have
there.
gone
Is white.
viral. Jacks wasn't at Matoka Baptist Church Thursday when I stopped by,
Really?
but he
Good for
spoke about the pictures during his sermon Wednesday night in a video posted on the church's Facebook page. He says he was dressed as Ray Charles and
Yeah, Ray
says
Charles
he's
don't look
not
like that. Hey, pause it.
racist.
Pause it.
Ray
Bring up a picture of Ray Charles. He says he dressed up like Ray. That's Ray Charles, everybody. You gotta be crazy. Bring Mr. Blackface up again. You don't look nothing like no damn Ray Charles. Ain't never grew his hair like that. You is out your mind. Ray Charles ain't that. Is that black shoe polish? I think so. I mean, there's dark people out there, but I ain't seen nobody patent leather black. Got red lipstick on.
I didn't think it's gonna get this deep. I did not think it's gonna get this
Whenever you
deep.
dress up like another species of people, and it's like a caricature, it comes off it like a caricature.
Yeah.
You're like it's exaggerated.
Yeah.
You're mocking that demographic you're portraying.
Yeah. When you come out on stage and people are laughing at you and they're white, and they think it's amusing, yeah, it comes off racist. I mean, if that church is black and you come out there like that and you white, they're gonna be like, what the?
Obviously, you don't know the history of like minstrel shows, how white people used to.
I'm sure he knows. This is a whistle. What do you call it? Dog.
Yeah,
Dog.
I'm not finna hold y'all too much longer. I just wanted to see that. That was wild. That was wild, man. I appreciate y'all hanging out with me. I'll be live tomorrow around the same time. Y'all know how I do. Smoke some weed, chill. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever you see this, have a good night. Peace.